Hi guys, welcome back to episode 4 of my Beginner's Guide series. In this episode, I'm going to go into more depth on how to upgrade the medical, tech, and security wings inside the base of operations. I'll explain more about the perks and talents that you can unlock from each wing, and I'm going to explain which perks and talents I personally feel are the best ones to unlock first while you first progress through the story and why. I have been doing all of the main missions, side missions, and encounters on my own time, since there's nothing really significant to teach you about those, other than the fact that the main missions and encounters are what provide you with the points you need to upgrade the wings inside the base of operations. Each main mission will give you 500 points to spend, and the encounters will give you 60. You do not have to do all of the encounters in the game to fully upgrade each wing to its full potential, but I personally like to have a nice clean map. As you can see, this whole west side is completely done. I should mention that some of the encounters for the medical wing are going to suggest a higher filter level. These are usually the virus research encounters. You can either heal through them with your medkits or skills, or you can just wait until your filter is strong enough. You can get higher filters by upgrading your medical wing. Keep in mind that if you go down inside the contaminated areas due to a weak filter, you will have to respawn at the closest safe room, and you will need to restart the encounter, so do those as you will. When I started recording this video, I was going through each of the wing upgrades individually and describing everything about it. I realized how boring of a video that would be, so I'm going to be kind of brief with the descriptions. As brief as I can be. I'm mainly going to be highlighting the ones that I think are the most beneficial. Regardless, as you level up, you're going to reach 100% on these wings anyway, so I would just focus on ones that I think are going to benefit you more early on. We'll start with the security wing. No matter what, you always have to do the very first upgrade in each wing. It doesn't give you an option to do a different one. You always have to start off with the very first option, which I believe they're 400 points to unlock. So I think before you can even start beginning the upgrade journey, you have to have 400 points for each wing. So for security, the very first option you have is the situation room. And here you unlock the skill Smart Cover. Smart Cover used to be really good, but it's just not anymore. There's, if you really want to mess with it, you can, but it's just not that great of a skill. Basically, it reinforces your cover and increases your stability. But the first perk that you actually get is an experience perk. You just get increased XP gain from all activities. Anything in regards to the Dark Zone, I'm not even going to go over yet, because I'll either do that in the next video or at the end of this one. It depends on how long this video runs. The next one is the Armory. The Armory unlocks the mobile cover skill. Very similar. This one's just not very useful. There's too much cover in the game to utilize to make this any good. It used to be really good, but it's just not anymore. But this upgrade does give you the extra grenade slot, and it does unlock the advanced weaponry vendor in the security wing. He's basically going to offer you the absolute best quality of weapons that you are currently leveled at that time. So for example, right now I'm level 18. My typical weapons vendor is only going to have blue weapons and maybe one purple, but he is going to sell all purple at the advanced weaponry vendor. So they have really good weapons available, but they do cost some money, so it's up to you on whether or not you want to use this one or not. I usually always do because I have a lot of credits. The next one is Dark Zone Operations. This one unlocks modifications to your shield. It makes it do different stuff. The only one that's really worth anything is the Assault Shield. It gives you increased weapon damage and accuracy and reload speed. The Kinetic Breaker is pretty good as well. It gives you a portion of incoming healing every time you get hit. And the reactive targeting just pulses the target that shoots you, so that one's not very useful. As far as the perks, there's a Dark Zone perk here. The Black Market Vendor. It's also another Dark Zone feature. Basically, there's a vendor at the base of ops that gets unlocked, and you can spend your Dark Zone credits there. The supply line offers modifications to the Smart Cover. The only one that I think would be somewhat useful anymore is the Recharger, because it reinforces your cover and your health, and you get your skill cooldowns faster. For the perk rewards on this unlock, you receive the Clothing Vendor, which is located at the back of the room in the security wing. You can just buy the clothing there and it refreshes daily. Next on the list is Gunsmith. For the Gunsmith unlock, you'll get the modifications for the mobile cover. I wouldn't waste your time with this again. It just is not useful. There's too much cover in the game and other skills that are far better. Yeah, I wouldn't even bother with this one. For the perks themselves aren't too great. You get increased duration for the explosive bullets, so it adds 10 seconds onto the effect. And then you receive the gunsmith perk, which allows you to collect weapon parts in the security wing once per hour. These perks where you collect materials inside the base of ops once an hour, they're okay when you very first get the game because you really don't have too much, so you can of course get these and just kind of go through the base and collect them whenever you have an opportunity. But for the most part, as you level up, you're going to be scrapping a lot of items. You'll get the majority of your credits through missions and whatnot, so maybe in the very beginning these are useful, but I personally wouldn't worry too much about them. You're going to get a lot of materials in this game, so I wouldn't make this one a priority. The procurement team is next here. You're going to start unlocking talents and perks by themselves now for 200 points. For procurement team, we have steady hands and on the move as your talents. Steady hands is whenever you enter a cover, you reduce recoil by 25% for 10 seconds. What I like about this is you don't have to stay in the cover. You can leave cover and you'll still receive that recoil bonus for 10 seconds. On the move is a must-have. Whenever you kill a hostile while moving, you reduce incoming damage by 15% for 10 seconds. This one's really good. And the Scavenger perk is also really good. It's one of those things I like to open daily. Every 12 hours, there's a Scavenger crate inside the security wing that you can open, and it has a random item. It can be anything. It's right over here. I have already opened it within this time frame, but I think I got like a holster out of it. You can get gear, guns, weapon mods, and gear mods out of it. So it's pretty useful. The next one is the guard post. This one unlocks precision, headshot a hostile to pulse them for 10 seconds. This one's really good, but I usually run the pulse skill, so I don't run this talent so much anymore. Chain reaction is really good to use for skill builds because if you damage multiple hostiles with an explosion, you apply 20% more damage to the blast. So if you throw a grenade on a group of 2 or 3 enemies, it's going to increase that explosion's damage by 20%. And this perk also increases your incendiary bullet duration by 10 seconds, and then allows you to farm special ammo inside the security wing. I don't really collect those. This one's really worthless. Desperate Times and Stopping Power are both useless. Really don't need them. This one unlocks the shooting range in the security wing. I don't use this, but if you want to test out some guns without having to go find NPCs, this is a really good way to do it. And I mean, it's only 200 points. I just would make this your absolute last priority in the security wing. These talents are really no good. Last one's the Canine unit. I actually really like unlocking this one as soon as possible. I would actually unlock this one right away. I would do this right before anything else if possible. Main reason for that is once you complete all of the side missions and encounters inside a district, it automatically marks all of the intel on your map for that district. The intel are the cell phones, the laptops, the survival guides, things like that are around the map. I'm also going to be making a video for new players on kind of a loot farm for endgame. Because with the intel, there's a pretty cool thing to note with those. I would always recommend if you're playing the game for the first time to just pick them up because they add a lot of lore and they're really well put together. So I would pick them up, but if you would like to get a kind of a boost in gear once you hit endgame, I would actually wait and just stop picking those up completely. If you've already picked up quite a few of them, don't worry about it. There's a lot of them. The last thing I'll go over is the barracks. So you can unlock a signature skill in these wings. It involves a different keybind and it does a specific bonus. So this one is the Survivor link. It increases your damage resistance and your movement speed for the user and all group members within the proximity. You'll gain an emergency health boost instead of taking lethal damage. And this perk also increases your XP gain from Accolades by 25%. The Accolades, if you don't know, are after you leave combat, they're all of the little bonus things that you get at the end. So increased headshot, multi-kill, things like that. You'll basically earn 25% more XP from those. Survivor link, I really only find useful during like incursions and like legendary missions, but those are all endgame activities. So I wouldn't worry about the Survivor link right now. The only ultimate skill that I would recommend you actually get is the recovery link, which is in the medical wing. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Moving on to the tech wing now, located upstairs. You always have to do the very first option, and lucky for us, we receive the turret as a skill, and it's an automated stationary turret that automatically attacks hostiles within the proximity, and then you have a 10 slot increase to your inventory. So this one's actually really good to start us off for the tech wing. The next one is communications, and the communications is a seeker mine unlock. It's an automated mine that seeks out targets and explodes when they're in the proximity. And this one, of course, has a dark zone inventory by 1 slot. We're going to skip division tech for now. Generators is the sticky bomb modification. So the BFB, it's going to increase the damage and radius of the explosion, and it may cause targets to bleed. The flashbang is the one you'll probably use the most. It's self-explanatory. It flashbangs whatever is within the proximity. And the disruptor sticky bomb mod will EMP everything in the radius. And this perk will increase our soda consumable effect duration by 10 seconds. So this one, all in all, is excellent. I think I went straight for this one right after the control room. The next one is water purification, and this is going to give us more modifications for the turret. The active sensor is the one you'll probably use the most, but these are all really good. The active sensor is going to increase the base damage of the turret, and it's going to pulse hostiles that it shoots. Dragon's Breath is spitting fire, and for you Division 2 peeps, if you're playing Division 1 for the first time, this turret is a 360 lock, so anywhere within the 360 degree radius, this turret will automatically detect. And the Zapper is a shock turret essentially. And for the perk, we have increased effect duration for the water by 10 seconds. Field Engineering is a Seeker Mine mod list for cluster. Cluster mines, they split off into separate mines that seek out multiple targets simultaneously. The Gas Charge is an immediate gas impact mine, and the Airburst is a fire mine, essentially. It shoots up in the air. And for the perk, we have Craftsman. You can collect tools inside the tech wing once an hour. Moving on to Central Heating. These are the standalone perks and talents that we can unlock here. We have Tactical Advance and Demolition Expert. For the talents, Tactical Advance, it's okay. Complete a cover to move, and you increase your damage by 2% per meter covered for 5 seconds up to a maximum of 30%. I find this mostly helpful for sniper builds. Demolition Expert, if you kill a hostile with an explosion, you increase your overall explosive damage by 20% for 15 seconds. This is really good for skill builds. And then we have the energy bar increase here by 5 seconds. Satcoms, we have Police Up and Fear Tactics. Both of these they're whatever. Police Up is useless. If you kill a hostile with your skill, you get a 10% chance of auto-refilling all ammo types. And for Fear Tactics, if you apply shock to any target, it triggers a 30% chance for each target within a 10-meter radius. It's okay. I would run this sometimes in the dark zone against players if you're using a shock turret, but I hardly would run the shock turret, so I just never use this talent. The Resource Assessment perk reveals all the Division Tech crafting nodes on the Dark Zone map. This one's pretty good. I'm going to get into it more later. Next we have Recalibration, which unlocks the talents Evasive Action and Tech Support. Tech Support is if you kill a hostile while any skill is deployed, you extend the active duration by 10% for your skills. That one's okay. Cover to cover mood damage is reduced by 30% with Evasive Action. That one's not very good. And then here for the perk we have Stat Switch. This one is definitely required for endgame, because if you unlock this, you get stat switching at the recalibration station. Right now, I would not worry about this upgrade whatsoever, because I strongly recommend that you do not recalibrate any of your gear until endgame, because here it's all a level-based system. So as soon as you level up, the item that you currently have equipped is of no use until you find something better. Once you hit to the max level and gear score, then you can start worrying about recalibrating your stuff, and then you'll have all the materials to make it work. If you really want to recalibrate stuff, just to kind of see how it is, you can of course do this if you want to, but I would just not recommend it. For Recharge Center, you're going to unlock Wildfire and Death by Proxy. Death by Proxy is a must-have for skill builds. If you destroy a hostile's deployed skill, you increase your skill power by 20%. Wildfire is going to do the same thing for the shock talent for fire. So if you apply burn to a target, it's going to trigger a 30% chance to spread. And then this one is a dark zone perk. Moving on to division tech for 1,000 points, you're going to unlock the tactical link skill. It's a weapon enhancement system skill, so it's going to increase your weapon damage, stability, accuracy, but most importantly your RPM. Your gun is going to shoot a lot faster, and of course it applies to all of your allies as well. You're going to unlock the division tech materials. Really won't be using this right now, but essentially it lets you convert division tech into other crafting materials, and then you can collect electronics once an hour in the tech wing. Moving on to the medical wing, I have over half of mine upgraded by now. You start off with clinic with the first aid skill, really self-explanatory, just a self-heal skill. This also increases your medkit capacity by 1. The next one is the virus lab. The virus lab is going to unlock the support station skill. It just enables you to drop a station that will heal you slowly over time, and of course any allies that are within the radius. And then this one also adds a filter level. Disaster aid. This one I would actually recommend getting right away. So before you even start unlocking stuff in the med wing, I would just go and do missions until you get 1,800 points, because the first two are going to be 800 for both, and then the disaster aid is going to be 1,000 for the skill as it is, and you have to have the first two unlocked before you can unlock the signature skill. So 1,800 points gets you the recovery link, and this will heal and cure the user and nearby allies, and it actually revives everybody within range. Automatically triggers on lethal damage instead of dying when you're solo. So when you're solo, this will actually proc instead of you going down. Very, very useful skill to have. It does increase your canned food effect duration and allows you to farm the consumables in the base of ops. The next one is quarantine. This one unlocks mods for the pulse. They're all pretty decent. The recon pack one, it increases the range and allows you to locate nearby loot containers. It doesn't say this, but the cooldown on this one is actually faster, so you can get this one back quicker. I used to like running the recon one for support builds. The pulse mod for the tactical scanner is going to be the best one, because your damage is increased whenever there's an enemy hostile pulsed. So I believe it increases the base damage by 10%, as well as doing increased critical hit damage. I'm going to get more into crit hits probably in the next episode when I start talking about gear and guns and whatnot. And then the scrambler mod, it's PvP only. Basically, if someone else uses their pulse on you, then this will cancel out their bonus, so they will not do the extra damage to you. And then quarantine also reveals all contaminated areas on the map. So that one's pretty good to unlock. I always run the pulse when I'm by myself, so I usually go for this one right away. And for the quarantine perk, you unlock all of the contamination areas on your map. It reveals them to you. So I like to unlock this one whenever I get all the talents that I want. Intensive care is next. This one's really good. It unlocks mods for the self-heal. The defib will revive downed players, just downed, not unconscious players. So this is pretty good to slap on, like if you're in a group of people. This one will give a constant, very small amount of healing over time. And the overdose mod it's basically a mega heal. It's going to give you overheal. As long as your skill power is pretty decent, it's going to give you a really good heal. But I do think it takes the longest to come back. The booster shot is the primary one that I use. The heal is not very good, but it does increase your damage and your damage resistance. Keep in mind for the self-heal skill, it is like a self-heal, but you can actually shoot it to the ground where players are, and you can heal other players with it. Or you can click the button next to them and it'll apply to them. Next one's the hazmat unit mods for the support station. The support station by itself, if a player crawls over to it, if they're down, they can revive themselves on it by holding down the interact button. But with the life support mod, as long as they're within the radius of the station, it will automatically pick them up. And then the next one is the immunizer. This one is a recovery station, so it removes all status effects and makes allies immune when they're within the area. And then the ammo cache, basically you never lose ammo when you're inside the radius. You can keep reloading and shooting, and you'll keep your ammo. And this one also helps your skill cooldowns for everybody within the radius too. And this one adds an additional filter level. So these are the upgrades you'll want to do if you want to get increased filter level to take out those extra virus contamination events. The next one is the decontamination unit. So these, we're getting into our perks and talents only. Adrenaline and triage are really good. So adrenaline is 7 seconds of immunity after a medkit is taken from status effects. And triage is whenever you heal an ally with a skill, you reduce skill cooldowns by 15%. This is really good for a healer build. And we have a Dark Zone perk attached to this one. For pharmacy, your talents are going to be Shock and Awe and Battle Buddy. If you suppress a hostile, you'll increase your movement speed by 25%. This one's not very good. Battle Buddy, you revive a downed agent, and both of you receive reduced incoming damage by 30% for 10 seconds. This one's really good. If you're playing with random people, or if you have a buddy you're playing with, this is a really good one for you both to have. For the perks, we have Rigor and Protective Measures. Rigor is going to allow you to collect fabric in the medical wing once an hour, and then for protective measures, we have another virus filter. The next one we have is Counseling. Counseling is probably the first one I would unlock after you actually unlock the signature skill, because I have critical save by itself. If you use a medkit when you're low health, you increase your damage resistance by 20% for 10 seconds, and this makes a really big difference in combat. And Shrapnel also is not too bad. If you apply bleed to a target, there's a 30% chance it'll trigger for every other target within a 10-meter radius. And then this one also increases your credits gained by 10%. So this perk alone for only 200 points is giving you really good talents as well as a really good perk. And the last one is Pediatric Care. This one is also really good because of Strike Back. Strike Back, when you reach low health, you get active skill cooldowns by 20%. And Combat Medic is also pretty good. Whenever you use a medkit near allies, your allies receive 40% of that heal. And then you, of course, get an increased medkit slot. This episode went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to, so I'm actually going to leave it right here. I know I was supposed to bring up the Dark Zone in this episode, but it's gotten pretty lengthy just from explaining the talents and whatnot, so I'm going to leave it right here. And the next episode, I will discuss the Dark Zone that you get introduced to at level 10. If you have any questions about that, please comment them down below. And after that, I'm going to start getting into the gear and the weapons and modifications and stuff like that, so stay tuned for that. But as always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will talk to you guys later.